So thank you everyone for joining us for our very first TPF event excellence orientation. This is not to be confused with TPF tech excellence, two separate things, but they both have to do with how can TPF continue to deliver excellence. Specifically in this conversation, how can we make sure we are striving for excellence as we're planning and executing events? So of course, we have our question of the day. I'm also going to drop it in the chat in case someone forgets what that question is. So the question is, we want to know what is something that stands out to you when you are either attending or hosting a TPF event. So once again, dropping it in the chat. Welcome to everyone who is just joining us. But in a sentence or so, what is something that stands out to you when attending or hosting a TPF event? Yes, Monique, thank you for starting us off.
All right, no problem. Two things come to mind immediately. One is the attention to detail that I notice that is put into organizing. And the second is the joy that I see on everybody's face. Everybody who's working events is genuinely happy about what they're doing there. So those two things, details and joy.
Thank you, Monique. Beautiful two things. Once again, drop the question in the chat for everyone who has joined us. In a sentence or so, please share what is something that stands out to you when attending or hosting a TPF event. We are going to go to Lindsay.
I think for me, it's always you go into events knowing that they're going to be amazing, but it always seems to be better than amazing, more than you anticipate. And I think that is always a wonderful surprise for me. It's always like we're one-upping everything we do, and we don't just like reach the bar, we raise the bar every time. And it's always amazing to see. And still I'm surprised every time.
Thank you. It never ends. Wonderful surprises all the time. Benz and Elsie.
I would say that it is definitely the attention to detail, I think, is always incredibly impressive. And the engagement across all ages is something that always strikes me as to seeing like parents and caregivers and their kids just sort of equally being engaged, where it's not just one or the other, like the kid's not bored and the parent's not bored, everybody's there and having a good time. I think that's very special.
Thank you. Engagement across all ages. Elsie?
Yes, what I notice with all of our events is how the whole team jumps in to help in whatever manner they can, hanging things up or putting things together. It's just everybody cooperates and comes together.
And that is greatly appreciated for sure. Valerie?
I like the excitement of the volunteers and the people that are attending. And I just attended the Patriot Plaza, and everyone is just so excited.
Thank you. Carrie?
I was thinking like similar to what Ben was saying, like the families just engaged together and spending time together and really into the different events.
Thank you. Karen, then Melissa.
I would say the connections that are made, because when we're at big events and there's people that may not know each other, and even if there's a TPF person that introduced them, that's great, but they seem to just have that, everybody's on common ground and connections are made that we aren't even expecting.
Awesome. Thank you. Ongoing connective tissues being formed. Tina, then Sarah.
I would say the collaboration and the welcoming spirit. Everyone has a nice smile, and it doesn't seem to be forced. It's very natural, very welcoming. And the parents really appreciate that to the events that I go to. And I think the community in general, just at Patriot Plaza, I think we welcome them at so many different points, not just at that main gate.
Yes, we definitely try to be genuine in how we are welcoming people to this space. I love that. Sarah?
I'm going to go with the run of show. I know that may sound kind of technical, but I love that it is a consistent thing across TPF events. We all approach it a little bit differently, but we all use the same thing. And so when I need to know something, I know where to look for it. And I'll have to shout out Josephine, who taught me to use the run of show.
It is a key document that we will definitely be talking about today. Melissa, then Josephine.
Mine is pretty much everybody's hit on them. It is the, everybody lends a hand. The run of show is definitely key to prep, but it's really how everybody comes together. And then when you get to the event, set up, and then really connecting with other community members is like a big thing at the event, and the families, just meeting new people, whether it be someone there on business or a family there for the event.
Thank you. Josephine?
It's pretty much the same everyone is saying. It's hard to find something unique to say, but I love that it's TPF includes all aspects of our community, right? Like we say, like organizations and people and individuals. I love that there always is this variety across the initiatives. And I also still think, for me, my most favorite is the remarks or the things that people notice about our attention to detail. I feel like they don't get that consistently in other places they go, but there's always comments that TPF cares so much and pays attention to the details, and it makes a difference for the attendees. So I love that part.
Yes, the details are definitely the secret sauce to success. Don, then Ashley, please.
Mine really is that everyone knows how to leverage and pivot when needed, because we encourage each other, and it's the collaborative joy that we have when we work with each other. But the key is leveraging and pivoting as we move forward in any of our specific events. I think that's rather key and remarkable how we do that so well.
Thank you. Ashley.
Hi, yes, I agree with a lot of what everyone has said. I love that there's always an engagement. I actually use the run of show in my other work. It's very helpful. I know that it's going to be organized and that people are going to show up and that I can depend on to help us get it done. And I love that we have the opportunity to share about multiple initiatives, even if it's just an event for one. We are able to share, and that when people come, it's almost like they're not just coming. Well, they come maybe to the Patterson Foundation event, but they feel a part of it, and they always leave with something. Rather, it's a tangible something like that we give them, or they just leave inspired to do something. So that's what I like about them.
Thank you. Pierrette, then Maribel.
Everyone said so much about what it means to them. I worked on events for 23 years, and the Patterson Foundation just pulls all of the love together in the pre-planning and seamlessly engages all of the volunteers and participants so that everyone is kind of united in the celebration. It's magic.
Thank you. Beautiful. And Maribel.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm off camera today, juggling a few things. I think what stands out the most to me is the fact that roles are so clearly delineated. Everybody sticks to what they're supposed to do, is so supportive of everyone around them in those roles. And I think that that's an essential function to the success of events. So the joy really, really comes out.
Thank you. There are a lot of people in my screen, so if I missed anyone, I'm so sorry. Please go ahead. The floor is now yours to say something in case I did miss you. I'm not hearing anything, so we are going to go straight into our screenshot because this is like a TPF thing. So if you are able to join us in camera, go ahead and do so. If not, that is okay. We will Photoshop you in. I'm gonna let everyone get nice and ready. And then in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everyone. I took several, and now I'm going to pass on the conversation to Kelly. Know that we did not answer the question of the day because you're going to hear our thoughts throughout this entire orientation. We wanted to hear everyone first, and now I will turn it to Kelly to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Kiarra. And hi, everyone. Thank you for being here and taking the time with us today to really deep dive into this, look at it. We are recording, but feel free to use the chat and let us know questions as we go along. There is going to be a lot that we go through, but we're all in this together. So I am going to begin by giving some background into how the TPF Event Excellence Ideation Squad came to be, and that'll really help us understand the why and what of TPF Excellence and what, the materials that we're here to look at today. So you all said what stands out to you, and I took so many notes, and I agree with each of these aspects, and it really is what brings that, what I consider kind of that sparkle to TPF events. But to ensure that we have these things and this sparkle that comes through at TPF events, we have to have that kind of consistent, cohesive look at what that means and what these things are. So we all know that the Patterson Foundation strengthens the efforts of people, organizations, and communities by focusing on issues that address mutual aspirations, foster wide participation, and encourage learning and sharing. And TPS values guide its approach to philanthropy, demonstrating a collaborative philosophy and the tenets of change. So through many initiatives that you all work on, TPF catalyzes efforts towards those shared aspirations through events, gatherings, meetings, both in person and virtually. And through that, we're able to connect, learn, and share with those individuals, organizations, and communities. So through each of these opportunities to connect, TPF is striving for that excellence, right? The striving for the cooperation, the enthusiasm, the anticipation, that raising the bar, and that wide participation and that engagement across all ages and counties. And striving for excellence does not mean perfect, as rarely things in life are. And we all know that nothing is ever really that perfect. But as many of you said, that ability to pivot, that ability to leverage each other. So instead, TPFers strive to ensure everything, big or small, is done with responsibility, intentionality, and that joyful stewardship, hence the striving for excellence. So because of this, events hosted by TPF have grown a reputation for having that detailed thinking, the high-level engagement, and that sense of sparkle and inclusion and authentic welcome. And striving for excellence includes keeping the TPF event brand that our Suncoast community and beyond has come to truly know and love. And due to this, TPF fosters that collaborative work culture with staff, consultants, other community members, so many talents and perspectives. So comprehensive communications and strategy are really needed to ensure events are planned, prepared, and executed with that detailed excellence. So since November 2023, there's been a, Okay, so since November 2023, there's been a strong emphasis placed on developing materials to be able to streamline how TPF strategizes, plans, and executes those events. So much gratitude to Kelli Karen Smith, Kiarra Louis, and Karen Windon for being part of that squad to really lay the foundation for that. And that is a big chunk of the background. So before I go into kind of the materials that we've developed and that we're going to look at later today, is any questions? Awesome. Okay, I will continue on, but let us know if anything comes up. So using a combination of research-based best practices, lived experience, so many TPFer insights, this ideation squad developed materials that are meant to provide guidance, including expectations for TPF events. They're not exhaustive, as TPF has several initiatives, each with their own branding as well. but several developed materials include a starting point is a TPF toolkit. That is, we'll take a look at that later. And it's narratives, examples, template, links to templates, and points of contact. So it's a great starting point that leads to other items. I'll start here. There's a refreshed scope of work. So that's a document you may have seen before, but it is a refreshed. It's initial that precedes the framework. And then we also refreshed the program project framework. That's the document of the what, why, who, when, how, all of those items that goes into the project or program. We also refreshed the run of show, and that was mentioned before too. So the day of agenda, the people, the timing of that event or meeting, that's been refreshed. And we've added a material list template and examples of TPFer event roles. And with this focus on the event excellence, we've created a pretty comprehensive and extensive event excellent guide that hosts that space for a brief framework of the who, what, why of an event, and then is a majority of a master timeline that has prompts that will kind of launch you into those excellent steps of planning a TPF event. And so that is kind of what we're gonna do a lot of our discussion on today. But that kind of wraps up the background, the future of what this looks like with that focus on event excellence. And let me go into the poll. There we go. I have so many people on my screen, and let me launch that. There we go. So just a couple questions here on just us to get an idea of the language behind everything, right? Because we all have to have a starting point of all of us kind of on the same page about what do these things mean? What is this wording? And, you know, TPF has a lot of the TPF isms. So just a moment about what exactly do those look like? Great, we have some responses coming in.
Are we answering all the questions?
Yes, I believe there are 7 of them, each about
Okay.
a different TPF event or item.
Okay, I submitted just the first one. Can you launch that again or no? Sorry about that.
Kiarra, our tech excellence.
Yeah, I don't think we can, Valerie, but that's okay.
I did the same thing because it said submit after the first 2 questions.
Yeah,
it's okay. There should either be like an arrow that says next, or you should be able to scroll down to see the next questions. So that's okay.
Okay, Elsie, we missed it this time. We'll do better the next time.
It's not a problem. But keeping in mind, it's just an exercise. No pressure at all.
It looks like we have about 73% completed, so I'll give it another few seconds. So 93. Does anyone need more time? Looking at faces. Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to end this poll and we will launch the results. Ah, look at that, 100%. Well done, everyone. Okay, share results. So as we can see, what's a Thrive and Dine? Community conversation. Some of these events, we have different kind of thoughts and outlooks and perspectives about what exactly that looks like and what exactly that means. So as we can see, as we go through this, that's a necessity that we kind of start from the same starting point on what these items are, what they include, what are the expectations and objectives from them. And so that was really a large part of this ideation squad, was from a TPF perspective, what do we need for these things? And a lot of that is outlined in the toolkit. And a lot of that is now provided as far as what does that look like and what's the goal from these different things. A knowledge sharing session, listening tour, even a Webversation webinar. A lot of those, 100% on those, amazing, especially that run a show. So let's go ahead and stop sharing and let's go ahead and dive into this, because this is a great starting point for us. So we will start with an overview of the toolkit. And we've kind of mentioned that. And then we kind of have an exciting platform that I guess we're really excited to share, that'll make this an ease of access. I know that was mentioned too, about just being able to access these items. So with the toolkit that we've kind of talked about, those main elements are the who, what, why, and has a lot of different descriptions of the events, but also it has examples. And so it's not kind of just starting from, oh, what does this description mean? It really provides an example that goes along with it too. And then it also, at the end of the toolkit, links to every single one of those materials that you can then use for those. So Kiarra, I think if we're ready to launch this kind of exciting platform we've been working on, and we're looking forward to sharing, that similar to some of the other, oh, it looks a little blurry for me. But similar to some of the other, oh, that looks great, other items that TPF has shared, Event Excellence has a web page now. And this is underneath the 4 TPFers on the very bottom of the website. It's the second item, TPF Event Excellence. And so this is a go-to spot. Honestly, I recommend bookmarking this if you are a person who works on a TPF team and either hosts a lot of these events or is looking at creating a scope of work or creating those run of shows, or just wants to know more about when you are shared these documents, how to kind of read them and look at them. So absolutely bookmark this. It starts out with a purpose and the impact, a lot of that which we covered today, and has FAQs. For contact, common types of events that we looked at and we had some differing definitions for. And then who is this for? Right now, we are keeping this as an internal use, but some of you have said that you use those materials for other projects you have, and that is amazing. I can't wait to take these materials with me when I launch and figure out how I can implement them elsewhere, because that's TPF going beyond in ways too. And so that is an amazing way to implement this event excellence other places too. On the right side of this web page, it links to everything. And so that's good starting point of that TPF toolkit, but also underneath that for the scope of work, framework, planning guide, and run a show, those are going to be templates. And they do link directly to the Google Drive. And so anytime there's updates, they will update automatically. So you'll always have connection to the most updated resource that TPF is using a template for. We do encourage that if you are using these materials, we want each initiative to really strengthen and implement these materials into each of the initiatives and programs and projects. So when you are looking for these and say you're doing an event like Patriot Plaza, like we just had, that's an event. So you would click that event excellence planning guide, and you would go ahead and download that to then edit on your own. And Kiarra, what else am I missing from this page?
I would just only add that a lot of times there's a lot of language regarding events and more that TPF uses. People are like, I have no idea what this means, and I'm just going to kind of wing it until I figure it out. Well, there is a TPF glossary that's linked right here for ease of access, but also the TPF toolkit that Kelly's going to dive into really helps. The point of it is to really give people the background to kind of be like a jumping start. And instead of you trying to figure it out in like a couple of months of what the heck do we mean when we say a thrive and die? Like, are we eating? Are we thriving? Are we like, what are we doing? Now you have this one-stop shop of where you can go to kind of like get the background to like kind of speed and quicken that learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. Great addition. And the cookie sharing guide too. I know that's become kind of a staple for TPF, is to have cookies and share your cookies knowledge or cookies messaging. That is right there, and that QR code goes to that video of Deborah. And so when you're sharing about the cookie language at events, you can kind of use that to guide your language creation in that too. Great. All right. So with the toolkit, this is what we keep referring to, is this 5-page document that does have that background, introduction, kind of a little bit of the why of what we started with. And of course, we love our 5s. So the caring, contributing, creating, collaborating, connecting, that kind of goes into those events. The who, and those are a lot of links to our website too. The website is such an amazing resource. And then the types of events. And this is really from that poll too of the description. And then there's examples and different notes for consideration too, when it kind of comes up that, oh, we're going to host a knowledge sharing session. Okay, what does that look like? Where's a good starting point? And this is your starting point for that. And then at the bottom here is those links to both a template, but also an example. And so that's a great resource, provided that the templates are on the website too, but from the toolkit, you're able to see an example that'll give you even more of a kickstart and starting point too for each of those.
Kelly, I'm just going to jump in and have a tech excellence moment here.
Yes.
So when we tell people to open up these documents and to download a copy of it, whenever you open any of the links that are listed on the event excellence page, once again, they're all going to bring you to a Google Docs. And once you're on it, we do not want you to directly type and manipulate the document itself, but you're just going to go to File, Download, Microsoft Word, It's going to be on your computer, and then you can upload it to whatever initiative drive you're working on, whatever event folder that you're working on, and then you will be good to go. So all of these are going to be links to a Google Doc, file, download, Microsoft Word, and then you are free to manipulate. And if you forever forget that, you know I am an email or a call away to provide helpful reminders.
Yes. Thank you, Kiarra. Any questions on the toolkit while we're here? Awesome. Kiarra, anything else on the toolkit before we move on?
I would just once again add that even if everyone may not be creating like a run of show or a scope of work or a framework, it's still once again important to know what those things are. And the same thing with the events. Yes, you may not be planning a community conversation, but if you're invited to help support one, then it's kind of important to know what to expect when you get there, because a community conversation is going to be different from a celebration event, which is going to be different from a listening tour, which is going to be different from a Thrive and Dine. So if you're familiar with the language, that's going to help you know what the expectations are, and whether you're hosting, leading it, or even volunteering it for it, you are going to be in much better shape because you know what to expect and how to best support.
Absolutely. And that is going to really help us continue to provide all of those takeaways that you stated about the sparkle, about the connections, connective tissue, having that preparation and being able to, even if we need to pivot, we've made a plan and we've lived the day for each of those items. Awesome.
Yep. So any questions at this time that people may have? I don't know if Kelly can see everyone, but I certainly can't. So if you do have a comment, please unmute. Okay, hearing none, Kelly.
Great. All right, I think we are ready to move on to our newly created document, the Event Excellence Planning Guide.
So once again, once you're on the Event Excellence page, the Event Excellence Planning Guide is like the fourth link there. Once you open it up, it's going to go to a Google Doc. So this document was kind of created because when planning events, TPF has the run of show, they have the framework, they have a materials list, they have a timeline list, and those all lived in different places. And it was very overwhelming to know what folder to go to, what drive should I go to find the run of show, to find the framework. And so the Event Excellence Planning Guide, our aspiration is that it helps consolidate everything. So as you're planning an event, all you have to do is come to this guide, and the links of what you need, this will be your starting point to where you need to go. The link to the toolkit, which is that background information or that vocabulary document, is linked here. So you have ease of access. So if you're planning a community conversation, you forget what that means, you can just click on the toolkit and then you can refresh your memory. The main elements of this planning guide is the framework. The master timeline would just list a whole bunch of, would provide people the opportunity to sit down and really think through, when do we need to accomplish X, Y, Z to be able to execute this event with excellence? Then we have the materials list. What materials are needed to either purchase, to buy, to get from the point, to get at TPF, to procure, to be able to once again execute this event with excellence. Then we have the run of show, which is basically like a minute by minute, hour by hour breakdown of all the, from beginning to end, well, even setup. What are all the events that need to happen? What are all the tasks or activities that need to happen all throughout the event? And then we have some TPF event excellence best practices that might be helpful for people to keep in mind and to know. Tips and tricks when you're creating a Google Forms that you may not be familiar with and stuff like that. First element is the event framework. This has been simplified because the event framework before had a whole bunch of questions. And so we just really sat down as a team and reevaluate, like, and what questions are really the most important that we really need, that need to be communicated with Deborah. Because in the beginning, Deborah is really the one who sees the event framework. So what information is most critical for Deborah to have and to understand before she can greenlight and give the event team permission to start hashing it out? And we decided it's really the name of the event, overview of details, who's working on it, and a brief description of what are you doing and why is it important to TPF's work. This is just like a high level overview of what you are envisioning the event will be. Yes, it's going to change, but initially, this is what has to be approved by Deborah before you even go to the other elements. And once it is approved, you can share it with your team and you can move on to the other pages to start really hashing out the details. But if Deborah doesn't approve the event framework, ideally, you should not be proceeding with the other elements because her input will drastically impact the details of the event. That is the framework. Moving on, we have this master timeline. For those who were able to attend the Patriot Plaza event, just to provide some examples, we needed porta potties, 6 porta potties for that event. Ideally, the week before or the day before is not the time when we should be ordering the porta potties, and we did not do that. And the reason why is that we used something similar to this master timeline where we had planned out and added deadlines of when did we need to accomplish certain tasks to make sure the day of we were good to go. And because we had planned ahead, we had porta potties at the Patriot Plaza event. The master timeline is broken down into 4 main phases. Pre-planning, we're just setting the roadmap. Detail phase, we're really hashing out some details. Hosting phase, we're adding those final details to make things special, crossing our T's, dotting our I's. Reviewing, after the event, making sure just reviewing what worked, what didn't, and how can we do better next time. And within each of these 4 phases, we realize that there are about 5 categories. Yes, we need to change that. I'll do that now. There are 5 categories of activities related to event planning. There is logistics. What documents do we need to create to make sure we're on track? That's making sure we create our framework, our run of shows, all those other things. What is our communications plan to make sure we are marketing this event? Do we need a podcast? Do we need a newsletter? Do we need a morning missive? All those things. Procurement. What do we need Stacey Gadican and Nancy's help procuring to make sure to help us prepare for this event or to help execute it? Capacity. Who do we need to recruit either in the planning phases or the day of to make it happen? Once again, using Patriot Plaza, that required a lot of capacity. Like the main event team was maybe only like 4 people. The 4 of us cannot have put on that wonderful event, but we definitely needed the assistance of our volunteers. But if you're asking volunteers to come and help support an event, then you need to make sure that you build their capacity, their knowledge to be able to deliver TPF excellence. So all that requires some type of time frame, which requires that you sit down and add it into the timeline. And then audio and visuals. Well, audio, visuals, and technology capabilities are needed to execute the event. And as you explore the master timeline, Kelly and I and the event team, we put just some recommendations, some starting points. This is going to look a little bit different for every initiative. As Kelly shared, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just to kind of help you get started. We understand and we encourage you to tweak it as much as possible to make it your own, but just giving you some starting ideas. Because if you're especially planning an event for the first time, sometimes you may not know what are all the necessary elements when planning a TPF event. One thing I can tell you is that you're going to need a morning missive. Deborah is going to want you to write a blog before and after. Now that we're doing podcasts, you may want to consider doing a podcast before or after. So we're just giving you some initial starting points to get things started. But knowing that this will not be the only things that are required and you will continue to add more and customize it to fit the particular nuances of the event that you are planning. The idea is that you will work on these documents on Google Drive. The reason why is that it's really collaborative. If I'm the one writing a blog and it has to have a registration link and Kelly is the one building the registration link, I can make a note to Kelly and be like, hey, my blog is ready, but I'm just waiting on this registration link from you to get it done. Yes, we can communicate about that via email, but I can also do it directly through this Google Docs and it's a little bit more efficient. So we want people to be working on these documents on the drive in Google Docs to facilitate collaboration and to make things a little bit efficient. And it's easy within this doc for me to know what Dawn is working on, what Monique is working on, what Ashley's working on, without me having to send like 5 emails. Like, did he do it? No. Have you done it? No. I can just come here and be like, oh, Dawn's done it. Check. So all of this is just the master timeline. And I mean, it can be a little bit intimidating. Like, I know Kelly is planning the TPF Beyond trip, and there's probably like questions she had to find. That trip is in June. But like the beginning of January and December, she's thinking through the deadlines and questions for this thing that's not going to happen in another 6 months. So that can be a little bit daunting. But if we're wanting to deliver TPF Tech Excellence, then 12 and 16 weeks out before the event, we have to start having these conversations, because that's when we identify potential issues, gaps that we need to address to make sure the day of we are developing TPF Tech Excellence, or making sure that we are looping in the TPFers with the right expertise to help support us in developing TPF Tech Excellence. Once again, just some starting points, knowing that everyone will make it their own. We have the materials list. So every initiative kind of had some variation of this that lived in different places, that were 2 or 3 documents long. But ideally now when we're planning an event, we just want to have one materials list. That way I can know that Kelly is bringing the Sharpies, Valerie's bringing the tablecloth, Lindsay's bringing the baskets, instead of us once again having to send 5, 6 different emails. Are you bringing this? Am I supposed to bring that? Were you going to pick that up? I thought you were going to pick that up. All you have to do is come to this sheet. And if people are using it accordingly, then I don't necessarily need to email Don to ask him if he's bringing the step and repeat. I can just come to this materials list and see that, yes, he is bringing it, and he knows what days to pick it up from Melissa at the point. Once again, trying to become more efficient and effective in our event planning processes, and making sure that, most importantly, we're all in the same page. Like, it doesn't make sense for Lindsay and Ashley to both get to the point thinking that they're picking up napkins and plates when all we needed was really one of them. So this is where we can start planning out how can we best use each other's time and be intentional with it. We also have the run of show template. I don't think that has changed that much, but Kelly and I and the event team just added some kind of descriptions about what the expectations are when it comes to filling out a run of show. Once again, some people may not be completing a run of show, but more than likely, a majority of these people will be expected to read the run of show to know what's happening. And they can be pretty long, so the expectation is not you're going to remember every single detail or every single assignment that you have on the day of, because most likely you're going to have a printed copy of the run of show for you to refer to. But we don't want this to be the first time that you're seeing the run of show. We want it to be something that you're comfortable with. You know where you need to be, how many people are coming, what time you need to be there for setup, when the event is coming. If there is a dress code you need to follow, the main contact information for our leads, and then we have the minute by minute breakdown of everything that's happened. And also, what are some of the event follow-up action steps that we need to take? We can be just as important as what you do during the event. Are we sending our thank you? Are we doing our after action surveys? And etc. And then just some best practices. A lot of times when we do an event, we use Google Forms. If you've never used a Google Form before, this kind of gives you some cheat sheets on how to go about that. I've had a lot of experience managing volunteers lately for TPF events, but if it's not me who's doing it, if I'm not the one who has that wonderful honor of managing our TPF volunteers, I want to make sure that other TPFers have some tips and tricks to get started. So this section is to help you get started with that. And then writing confirmation emails. If you need to write a morning missive, if you need to have a site visit, some things to think through, to look at, to make sure that we are ensuring TPF Tech Excellence. We have TPFers who are more experienced in having events than others, but we want to make sure that they're sharing their cookies with those who are doing it for the first time, to make sure that we are consistently bringing TPF excellence across all initiatives. That was a lot to digest. Any initial questions people may have for me or Kelly? Yes, Sarah.
Okay. So with this form, we download it, then upload it to our initiative, and just keep using this same form with all that stuff attached.
When you upload this to Drive, you will start customizing it and making it your own. I guess that really starts with the framework part of it, Sarah. And then as you start making your own materials list, your own run of show, you'll just make sure that it's linked on this event guide. So if someone needs to look for the run of show, they know to come here. Yes, it's going to live in other places, but they know at least they can always access the run of show here for the particular event. So this is where you're going to start adding your specific links, because you're going to have your own run of show, you're going to have your own materials list, that you can delete this template after you've used it and then just put a link to the real one. So if FDF is having a listening tour, just make a copy of this template and you'll just add the link to the real thing, to the real deal.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say copy.
We're like first stages, we're submitting the event framework to Deborah, but past page 2 would be blank.
Pretty much. You can.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Got it.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So the submission process, when it comes to Deborah, you might want to, sometimes when you go to print something, print as a PDF, you can select like you only want to do page 1 or page 2 and send it to her that way. So she doesn't have to see that full daunting thing. So you can just see that first page. And I saw Josephine's hand.
I was just going to clarify, this is sort of the guide, right? And then following what Sarah was asking, we would download the specific run of show template separately, save it in a separate file, but link it to this, right?
Yes. And ideally, you would just make a copy of the template, and you would customize it and make it your own, and that's what you would be linking here.
But in like a separate, we would download it separately to fill in the run of show. And then
yes,
okay, which is the same with the materials list. We'll download it as a file called materials list separately.
Exactly.
And link it back to here.
All right. Any link that's already provided here is a template, and then you are going to have to make a copy of it and link to your version of it. Absolutely. So this
when you say make a copy of it, it's download to make a copy of it, right?
Exactly.
Making sure I was understanding. Okay.
Cool. No, perfect. I mean, theoretically, if you wanted, like, you could literally copy this and paste it, but everyone learns differently. But essentially, yes, download it or literally just make a copy of this document.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
I understand. Okay, thanks.
Yes. Any other initial questions people may have for us? Knowing that, once again, not everyone will be creating these documents, but everyone will be expected to know how to read them, because in one way or another, you will find yourself supporting a TPF event, and we want to make sure you know how to read and understand a framework or a run of show, or that we're holding each other accountable. Like if you're being asked to volunteer for an event, one of your first questions should be, where is the run of show? Because if not, how are you going to know the expectations of where you need to be or what you're going to be doing or who you're going to be talking to? And the same thing, if you are pulled into a project to assist, plan it, support it, one of your first questions should be, can I see the framework? Or where is the event planning guide, so I know where we are and where we have to go? So part of it is also holding each other accountable to be like, we don't have a framework? Well, we certainly need to get one. Or we don't have an event planning guide? Well, let's get one created, because we need to make sure we start implementing some deadlines to make sure we are creating an event that people are going to come to and feel the joy and the inclusivity, widespread participation and the engagement, and all that, as intimidating as it may seem, requires us to start thinking the details way in advance. And you will be thankful for it. That is a promise. Anything you'd like to add, Kelly?
No, I just really want to echo that even if one person is not being the creator of it, that we're all being the stewards of using these practices. And I will say too, like, this is something that we've created from practices and from experiences, but like everything TPF, it will continue to evolve. And that's why we've kind of put in those systems for when it is updated, it'll be automatically updated through those links. So let us know your thoughts as you're using them. we've kind of been practicing, and as Kiarra said, with the TPF Beyond, I've been using it myself too, and pulling people into it and getting different perspectives. And, you know, we've done the due diligence to get these in place, but as we go along, we'll see what, again, the TPF best practices continue to evolve and be.
Any questions people may have for us as we enter this Q&A session? We've already kind of been in it, but it's officially started. Knowing that, you know, this is kind of Kelly's last week with us or whatever, but as people have questions, you know, I'm definitely more than happy to support and assist and brainstorm in any way that I can. And if there are no more questions, Kelly and I, you know, thank you all for making us a part of your day today to walk through event excellence. So thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
I just want to add that thank you guys. This is fabulous. Having been here for quite a long time, to have it all connected and everyone using the same thing is super exciting. So kudos and thank you. And it's great. It's going to make our work so much easier.
Yes, thank you guys. It's so streamlined. It's really,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's everything. It's really so great work. Thank you so much. It's really gonna just make everything so much better as we move forward. So really, and this is really helpful to be familiarized with it. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So
Thank
great.
you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.